What's going on, everybody? These are the views from Lot K. I'm Max, joined alongside me with Steve. Steve, I'm not quite sure about you, but it has been scorching hot down here for the last 3 days. How's it doing in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, it's been a little spicy out. It's been a little on the warm side, but got out yesterday, stayed in the air conditioner today.
Yeah, I've been in the air conditioner as much today. On my drive back from the wedding I had this weekend, my car's air conditioner crapped out. For whatever reason, it was only spitting out moderate cold air, and it was about 96 degrees in parts of Maryland as we were driving back. So that was a less than ideal drive.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, if we want to keep rolling with less than ideal, let's just jump right into the Sixers. I mean, there's no better way to describe Game 1, but before we do Game 1, it should be implied Game 5. The Sixers won against the Wizards, perfectly fine without Embiid. Steph Curry dropped 30. Thank you very much. On to the next one. Gentlemen sweep.
Yeah, it was a little concerning not having Embiid there for the first little bit of the game, but I really liked having Tease in the lineup there and getting Ben at the 5 and having Matisse in there to play some defense. And, it worked out well for them in the end, so glad to see them move on from the Wizards, and let's get, looking forward into the series against the Hawks, which unfortunately today wasn't the brightest spot of the playoff run to date.
Yeah, so might as well just jump right into it. So Game 1 against the Hawks tonight against the Sixers in Philadelphia. First and foremost, Joel Embiid, he's healthy. He started the game today, which was kind of a surprise for a lot of people. He was a game-time decision. Thought maybe he would be active but not start, but then it's announced with 30 minutes before tip that he's coming out. He's good to go. Throughout the game, didn't really see any limited mobility. Knee didn't really seem to be too much of an issue as we were making it out to be. We'll keep an eye on it throughout the rest of the series, but so far, there's one positive note to take away just from the start of this game as a whole. This game was really a tale of two halves, and I think the best way to look at it is just looking at the box score across all four quarters. So in the first quarter, the Hawks storm out to a commanding lead, to say the least, 42-27. There was a 17-0 run by the Hawks as the Sixers bench was out there. Doc Rivers just didn't make any adjustments, and the Sixers just dug such an incredible hole for them coming out of that quarter. And it wasn't any better in the second. They kept it a little closer, but it was 32-27 in the second quarter alone, so that put the Hawks up 74-54 at the half. Just lights out shooting from Trae Young, really moving the ball around well, and Atlanta just looked to be rolling with this game and didn't show any signs of slowing down. Moving into the third quarter, Sixers jumped up a little more, took a 29-25 advantage in that quarter, starting to chip away at it a little more, but still, you're down 16 going into the fourth quarter of Game 1 in the playoffs at home. Even in the first part of the fourth quarter, the Hawks were still holding their lead, but oh my God, what a run by the Sixers at the end. The overall final of that quarter was 41-29 by the Sixers. Final score was 128-124 of the Hawks. But it should be noted the Hawks were up 14 with 3 minutes and 32 seconds left in this game. And then with only 10 seconds left, they're up by 2 after that steal off the inbound. So, Steve, just overall points-wise and how this game sort of broke down, what just general thoughts do you have on the flow of the game?
Yeah, I mean, this team came out real flat in the first quarter at least. I mean, 9 turnovers in the first quarter. That's not what you want to see out of this team. Embiid looked good for what the injury was. Kind of made me question, was it as serious as they made it out to be? I mean, they kind of just said small minutes necessary. They didn't say, how bad it was. So, I'm just curious to know how bad is it actually. Is it a partial tear? Was it a full tear? And how small is the tear? Is it just some shredding of the ligament? I just am curious to know what his actual thing was. Because, I mean, he played out there with no brace on, mind you. So, and he looked good. I mean, he had a commanding dunk in the first quarter before the Hawks were on a 17-0 run in the first quarter. So, I mean, he looked good. That team in that final 332 is kind of what we're accustomed to seeing. And I'm glad we were able to see them a little bit today. But I think this is going to be a good wake-up call for a second round that, it's going to get tougher from here out. I don't have any doubts in my mind that they still can advance. but this is going to be a tough matchup with the Hawks, and I could see this going 5 or 6 games in this series, just because it's going to be so just intense. I mean, Trae Young is a monster. He got 35 points and 10 assists, and they got Bogdanovich and Collins 21 each, and they're kind of being supporting roles for her. And Kevin Huerter off the bench is getting 25. On the bright side for the Sixers, Embiid dropped 39, having 9 rebounds. Seth Curry got 21. It's 5 for 9 from behind the arc. Simmons 17 and 10, but with only 3 for 10 from the line, 3 of 9 if you don't count the intentional miss. So that's, again, another area of concern. Ben stepped up in Game 5 of the Wizards series with from the line a little bit better. This game, back to what he was. Toby gets 20. Thibault has 10. But I guess the biggest noteworthy line for you was Danny Green. Only getting 4 points in that game, and that's got to be huge for this team to not have someone like Danny Green scoring more, getting into the double digits.
Danny Green has been such a pivotal piece for us this entire season. I mean, not to mention he's been on the last 2 finals winning teams, so hopefully it keeps going a little more this year. However, Danny Green was just horrific offensively and defensively on the court. Offensively, 4 points. I think he was something like 2 of 9 from the field as a whole and 0 of 5 from beyond the arc. In the third and fourth quarter, he was just chucking up threes with defenders in his face, not getting open looks, and he was just trying to force his offensive production to keep going when it just was not there for him. When he was guarding Trae Young in the first half, he let up 18 points from Trae of his 25 total first half points. That is horrific. The Hawks were able to recognize that early. They kept going to it. Anytime they saw Danny on Trae, just get him the ball, let him get some work, create some separation outside on the floor, or even get past him to push in, or even the assist he was creating by trying to draw a double on the pick and roll, and then it left Clint Capella wide open in the middle of the paint. Danny Green was just a huge liability for this team today, and I'm going to come with the first hot take of the series. You either need Matisse Thybulle to start in Game 2 and man up Trae, because he was incredible on him in the second half. Really slowed him down, only having 10 points in the second half. Or you have to run a game plan where you can still start Danny Green, but Ben Simmons is the only starter to defend him. And if Ben's off the court, Matisse has to be on the court to defend him. Those are the only 2 players you can have defending Trae Young. You slow him down or you stop him, and you limit the Hawks' efficiency. And we saw that in the second half, and that was a huge reason why the Sixers were able to keep climbing back into this game.
Yeah, another big thing for this team was the perimeter defense. I mean, it was just kind of abysmal at that end. They just couldn't keep up. It almost looked non-existent out there. I mean, too many wide open shots, keeping too many players hot with it. The Hawks were 20 for 47 from downtown, so that's 52% from the field. Too many doubles. They're doubling up too soon. They knew how to make the second pass. Sixers just weren't catching on to it, and they didn't adjust until the fourth quarter. So I mean, we saw that situation with the Knicks. The Knicks couldn't clearly adjust to it for the series. Sixers finally did it in the fourth quarter, but you gotta worry about this adjustment as the series goes on, don't you?
Yeah. All in all, I think this game comes down to a big coaching blunder from Doc Rivers at multiple moments. He's not really learning from his mistakes, and we saw that in his time in Boston as well as with the Clippers. You can't let Atlanta go on a 17-0 run with your bench on the court and not make any adjustments. We talked about that before. You also have to be able to create a defensive game plan to really limit the Hawks, because you saw too many times where they're passing the ball 4 or 5 times around the arc, and you're having 2 players collapse on someone in the corner just to have Bogdanovich catch it, dish it back out to Kevin Huerter to just take a wide open three from beyond the arc, and he was not missing in that game. He had 15 points off the bench in this game with some big daggers in the fourth quarter, just killing Philly's chances to get back into this game. Because Doc has to learn from these situations as a whole, because if you pull these types of stunts against Brooklyn, you're not going to climb back into this game like you did against the Hawks. You need to be able to learn to make those adjustments and really find a way to slow the Hawks starters. The Hawks bench outside of Huerter they're not good at all. That was something we talked about coming into the series and coming into the postseason as a whole. And you let their bench put up 35 points on you. You cannot let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as it was, there's gotta be some kind of good takeaway from at least this game one, for the rest of the series, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one positive I want to end this whole game recap with. For getting absolutely drubbed for 75%, 80% of this game, I still feel really confident going forward with the rest of the series. I mean, we mentioned it before. The Hawks were up 26 at one point in this game, and with 10 seconds left, it was a 2-point game. This is not just an accident. It's recognizing that the Hawks were not capable to step up within the final 5 minutes of this game. There was constant pressure from Philly on their players on the inbound passes, and they just could not pass out of it. You saw Hoyter was scared at points holding the ball, screaming at the ref timeout, because you have Seth Curry and Ben Simmons collapsing on him. No outlet pass in sight. It was turnovers from those situations as well, where if they weren't collective on it, they were passing. Tobias able to get his hands on one of them to dish it to Ben Simmons to slam it to cut the lead down to, I believe it was 4 before they stole the inbound pass. Poor timeout management as a whole from coaching. With still over a minute left in the game, the Hawks had 0 timeouts. I mean, that's some Andy Reid level of timeout management. No idea what you're doing. The Hawks, their inexperience really showed in the final quarter of this game. They're a very young team. They're a good team, but they're emotional. They play with their emotions on their sleeves. They're giving it their all. But there are times where they're not, or they're rattled, and it's showing. And the Sixers were really able to capitalize on that. The Hawks needed a franchise record amount of threes in a postseason game. I mean, they got 60 points alone from beyond the arc in this game. The Sixers also missed 10 free throws in this game. You have a couple more to swing. The dynamic of this game is completely different. And not even just ragging on the Hawks for much longer, the Sixers had a lot of positive takeaways in the second half as well. They finally attacked Trae when he was bringing the ball up. Philly started winning those quarters and forcing those turnovers when you had guys like Matisse causing a lot of pressure on him, Ben Simmons being able to come up on him and be the lead man guarding him, Tyrese Maxey even coming off the bench, getting good drives to the basket, and Embiid and Simmons recognized the mismatches they had, and they were clinical, pushing it to the paint. Once again, Furkan Korkmaz offering some sort of spark. He was great out there, but he only got 11 minutes. I think you're able to get him in more of those second line rotations. This becomes a very winnable series for the Sixers. I don't know if they take it in 5. It's going to be something that's really going to come down to Game 3 in Atlanta. I think the Sixers take Game 2 in Philly on Tuesday. But if they're able to take Game 3 from the Hawks in Atlanta with a lot of these adjustments, you can see the Sixers maybe winning in 5, but they'll probably take it in 6.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me, something to look to as we get ready to Game 2. Game 2 Thursday, 7:30 at TNT. I gotta agree with you, Max. I feel confident about this team. Granted, I mean it was ugly early, but they managed to get it together. They came back from being down almost 30 to making it a 2-point game and only losing by 4. It hurts to think that some of these maybe fancy plays they tried pulling off in the first quarter, or missed opportunities at the 3-point or behind the arc, and the charity stripe kind of hurt them a little bit today. And this is what it comes down to. You just got to make your free throws. Make your free throws. You're winning games. So you look at a number like 3 for 10 from the line for Ben. He makes 2 of those. It's a different ball game in the last minute of the game. So just something to look forward to as we get to Game 2 and the rest of the series. Hopefully the Sixers will be able to pull it out Game 2. Again, 7:30 TNT. Any final thoughts on the Sixers for you, Max?
I guess final thoughts that I want to add with that. So many little moments in this game that could have gone differently. Kevin Hoyter, he had an incredible bounce pass on their like second to last inbound or final inbounds where he was doubled up and they almost got them on the backcourt violation, keeping it so close. But he just gets an incredible bounce pass, gets it up. I believe it was to John Collins. Embiid commits the clear path foul on him, and at that point, I'm not going to call the game was it was over at that point. But just little moments here and there. That was a very lucky pass from the Hawks. But you can't say, oh, if that thing happens, it's a completely different ball game, because we had our opportunities to come back into this ball game. Ben Simmons, you never know what you're going to get out of him from the line. I think I'm just accepting that this is the player he is. He's not going to make his free throws. And if he goes 50% or above 50% in a game, I'm happy with it. Last note, NBA as a whole I want to touch on. James Harden injured himself in Game 1 of the Nets-Bucks series. The Nets still completely decimated the Bucks in that game, but he is out for Game 2 with, I believe it was right hamstring soreness that Woj dubbed it in his tweet. So really want to watch that going forward. If the Sixers are able to, get their stuff together and get past this Hawks series and we meet the Nets, you could be going up against a banged-up Harden at a lesser physicality. Maybe that's one less piece to shut down. I don't know. I just want to focus on Game 2 on Tuesday.
Yeah, hamstring's definitely tough to come back from. But I think it's time to talk about another team in South Philly who's also playing at the same time as the Sixers game as we were recording, and those are our lovely Philadelphia Phillies. Currently, as we're recording right now, they are up 12-6 in the top of the ninth inning with one out. A 2-1 count to Josh Bell, Hector Neris in the game to close it out. Not a save opportunity, but just in there to get some work after coming back from paternity leave yesterday. So congratulations to Hector Neris and family. Definitely a great series, though, for the Phillies. A big one with the Nats in town. Game 1 was a little tough to look at. It was definitely a big-time pitching duel. You had two aces in Max Scherzer and Zach Wheeler going on the mound. Scherzer going 9 2/3 with 9 Ks, an earned run and a walk. Definitely really looked really well. Excellent command of his pitches. Really, the Phillies were just thrown off by him all night, and only able to get that one run across the board there. Wheeler went 7 1/3 with 8 Ks, 2 strikeouts and two earned runs, I should say, 8 Ks and 2 walks. Juan Soto's home run was really the difference in the game between those two pitchers. Other than that, not much to say from Game 1 other than it was a pitching duel, and you can't expect to win games all the time, especially when it comes down to pitching duels, and it's just kind of who's got the better bat for that game, and Scherzer kept the Phillies bats at bay for that night. But Game 2 was a little bit of a momentum boost as we saw the return of Bryce Harper to the lineup, and he definitely had a decent game, getting his first hit in the last 18 at bats. So that was exciting to see from him. Kutch has a nice big 3-run home run to left field, his 10th home run of the season, and a 4-run fourth. I forget what it was. I don't know if you guys know this, but a little something funny thing between Andrew McCutchen and third base coach Dusty Wathan. Every time Kutch hits a home run, they play rock paper scissors shoot. Currently, Dusty Wathan is up in the season series, 6-2-1. So Kutch, step your game up in rock paper scissors shoot. Harper and Hoskins.
Give him a break. He has 10 homers this season. You didn't even expect that.
Listen. I'm just saying Dusty Wathan's beating you. So I'm a big Dusty guy, though.
Just start throwing rock, fool him off.
Exactly. Harper and Hoskins both hit an RBI single. Hoskins continues his tear. His hitting streak is up to 12 games. I don't know if he got a hit in this game today as we're recording, so it could be at the 13. Max is going to confirm that while I continue to talk. A little concerning, though, Spencer Howard only goes 2 1/3. Hoskins has not continued a hitting streak, and it looks like that will be done at 12 games. But a nice little 12-game stretch for Hoskins there in this series. Again, Spencer Howard only went 2 1/3. The bullpen held it down, only allowing 3 hits, 1 run, 7 Ks. Alvarado gave a solo shot late, but the Phillies held on. Ranger Suarez came in, pitched 3 innings, and really took the win in that game. I was a little surprised by Spencer Howard pull earlier in the game. Girardi came out and said he wasn't hurt. He's healthy. He just pulled him. He did get into a little trouble that inning, so it might have been just to get him out of trouble and save the game, especially in this big series with the Nats. But again, this bullpen has been used a lot, and I'll talk about that in this one. I know they brought in, I think they had 6 pitchers, and I know Brogdon pitched yesterday. They had Neris go. They had Suarez go. Or not Neris, I'm sorry. They had Brogdon, Bradley, the Sanchez. Someone else pitched yesterday. So using that bullpen up in Game 2 the way they did kind of concerned me going into today. Game 3 is finishing up right now. It's 12-6, 2 outs now. We're on first, top of the ninth inning, so this is going to wrap up before we finish talking about Game 3. I mean, oh my offense, dude! It was insane. 7 runs in 3 innings combined for the Phillies. They were up 3-0. The Nats were in the fourth, but then the Phillies came back, punched them in the mouth with a 7-run bottom of the half of the inning, combined for 12 in the next 2 innings after that. Bamboo Brad, I can't talk enough about him. That is my guy. JT Realmuto had career number 100 home runs. Kutch had his 1,000th run scored today too, I think it was. So Kutch is kind of moving on there again. That was my guy who was like, he's going to suck. Just kidding. He's making me eat my words, and I'll be the first to admit it. Velasquez and Kinsler each give up 3 runs. Brantley and Kudrod have clean lines. Christopher Sanchez, who was called up today from Lehigh Valley in place of David Hale, who's on the COVID list, and another pitcher that was placed in the COVID-related IL, came up, had a good inning and a third. In between the netting of behind home plate falling down in the middle of the 8th inning. Shout out to the Philadelphia Phillies grounds crew for getting out there and fixing the situation so this game could continue on.
Yeah, it only took half an hour to fix it, though.
Yeah, it took half an hour, but, I mean, compared to what it could have taken, I mean,
to be fair, you got to find a way to get that rope back above the fans to be able to suspend it on something and keep it taut so it's not going to fall again if one goes back behind the backstop. I didn't even know that happened, so you told me about it. I need to find something that recaps it later today after we finish this.
Yeah, and I mean, they had to clear the fans out of the section just to make sure it didn't fall on anyone in case it came loose, but real ingenuity tying a string, or I should say rope, to the cable that holds the net up, and Neris just got the strikeout to end the game. So the Phillies did final win 12-6. So big shout out to the grounds crew there. But I mean, McCutchen has really elevated his game in late May and June. Does this guy show any signs of stopping anytime soon? I mean, tied for 44th in the majors in home runs. He's 2 back of the team leader, Rhys Hoskins. Excuse me. Second on the team in RBIs with 28. That's 61st in all the majors. Which, to think about, is kind of crazy for him, as he was a leadoff hitter for most of the series. I know they kind of dropped him back down in the lineup. I think he batted 5th today in the lineup. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was 5th.
Yeah, he batted 5th.
So, I mean, for a leadoff guy to do that, I mean, I know Odubel's been leading off a lot more recently. So maybe we'll see Kutch kind of solidify himself into that 5th spot. Now that you're kind of starting to get your team back after injuries and all that good stuff. But we'll see. He's also leading the team in walks with 33. So really, honestly, this is kind of a crazy numbers to see off of a guy who's 34 years old, coming off a major injury from 2 seasons in 2019 with the ACL. So, I mean, what are your impressions of this team right now, Max?
I think I can look at it from 2 perspectives. This team has gone kind of back and forth all year, but it was very good to see the series win coming today from the Phils against a divisional opponent, especially in a congested NL East, especially in the middle of the pack. You got 3 teams right now. You can say the Marlins are in it a little bit, but you mainly have 3 teams that are jockeying for that second spot with the Braves, the Phillies, and the Nationals. And to be able to get 2 of 3, and the one that you lose, you go up against Scherzer, you have your gem in there, and it's a 3-run game in total. You're going to win some of those, you're going to lose some of those. It's so great to see that from Zach Wheeler. I really like what I've been seeing from the pitching recently, a lot more from the bullpen. Even a little bit in that Cincinnati series as well. But Andrew McCutchen as a whole, I can tell you, I'm completely blown away by how well he's been performing this season. Anytime you see these older vets come through, we saw it a little bit with Carlos Santana a few years ago, if you remember. You have guys, you're kind of just waiting for them to drop off a little bit, but they're just not. And even more so with Andrew McCutchen, this was someone I thought we were going to bring in for a year to a tops, and when he had that injury so early in the season back in 2019, I thought his career was going to be done by that point. And now he's still showing great vision on the plate, getting 33 walks. He's really seeing it well, and I'm still going to call him a leadoff batter because that's what he's been most of the season. He's been going back with a double a little bit now, seeing who has it, but at 34, still to have that much power, I mean, he slapped that ball to left field for his homer. It was deep on it. All in all, I'm just impressed by McCutchen as a whole. The team is starting to show a few more signs going forward. They're holding the same spot in the division they've had recently. I'm excited to see what happens throughout the month of June, starting off on a good note, and it can get an even better note as we're going up with the Braves the rest of this week.
Yeah, you gotta, with the good always comes some kind of bad and blunder, and I'd be remiss to not talk about what happened Friday night with Travis Janikowski at second base. The tying run in the game, ball goes in the dirt, he thinks it ricochets off the catcher, thinks he's got enough time to get to third base, starts running, realizes he doesn't have enough time, and the catcher runs him down from behind the plate in between second and third.
Yeah, it was kind of embarrassing to see him run. What's the distance between home and second? It's not 90.
Well, I think pitcher's mound is 66.
66.
Yeah.
But he ran all the way to the base path between second and third to tag Janikowski out, which was the biggest. It's going to be the biggest.
You gotta think
season.
You gotta think it's pretty close to 90 feet, honestly.
Well, I'm saying it's probably more than 90. Maybe it's 100.
Yeah,
it's probably a little over 90,
yeah.
maybe at 100. But still, to be caught flat-footed and you're not just showing indecisive, he doesn't really know what he's doing on the base path, and it really exemplified it right there. He just got caught flat-footed, trying to catch the catcher off guard instead of understanding I need to try and make a play. The further away he is from the bag, the higher of a probability you have to make it back safe to the bag. And once he's getting out close to the pitcher's mound, you got to make a decision to get back to second there.
Yeah, and it sucks because I mean that could have been a tying run, and we could be talking sweep right now. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I mean that would have been a huge sweep in the division if we could have gotten that run across, that late in the game. But all in all, I mean this team is I think it's starting to kind of fill in and find their groove. I think there's gonna be some tough decisions that are made. When Didi comes back, I'm hoping he'll get some rehab assignments this week, and we'll see Didi back late next week or the week after. And then there's going to be some tough decisions that have to be made. I mean, I don't want to see Torreyes or Maton go down, but I think at that point, one of those two are going to have to go down to the to Lehigh Valley, and at that point, who do you keep? Who's the better bet? I mean, Torreyes has been lightening up recently. Maton's been slumping a little bit, but still producing a little bit as well. I don't envy Joe Girardi's position right now as manager of this club, because there are some tough decisions on the horizon for him. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But a big series coming up on Tuesday against the Braves, another divisional matchup. We're going to keep 2 or 3 here. They do continue to stay at the bank this week. Your 3 stars going for the Phillies this week are Nola, Eflin, and Wheeler. So kind of your core group of pitchers. Hopefully you get good performances out of the 3 of them, or at least 2 of them, to get the series win against another pivotal divisional matchup as we move into the later part of June and early July. I would be remiss to also neglect to talk about some Flyers news. This week. Last week was the NHL draft lottery, so we do want to touch on that real quick as the draft is approaching in the later months of June. And we'll talk about that more as the draft approaches. We're not big draft gurus when it comes to the NHL, but we do feel like we need to talk about it just a little bit. The Flyers will pick 13th in the first round of the 2021 NHL entry draft. They were slated to have the 14th pick, but Arizona forfeits their pick for a violation of combine testing policy in the NHL. Apparently they were completing physical tests on prospects before the combine for the NHL, and that violated the rules, so they're not allowed to do anything basically before the combine other than just meet with teams. So Arizona was found to be in violation of that policy, so they forfeit their pick this year. So the Flyers will pick 13th instead of 14th. Now I think we're going to talk about Max's favorite segment.
I mean, how can it not be your favorite segment?
I mean, listen, I don't want to flaunt too much, But I won a net of 6 cents last week, so like I don't want to flaunt too much. But hey, we're getting positive, boys and girls.
Oh man, 6 cents. Now you're under $4 in debt.
Hey. It's not a debt. It's just money that I've lost.
I'm still gonna call it a debt.
I'm up to date with my bookie.
Meanwhile, I'm going to continue to flaunt my excellent record. Absolutely dominant last week with the Nuggets and the Suns picking up 2 huge wins. I am now up to 9-12 on the year, sitting comfortably above your 5-14 on the year, and sitting at $6.64 with the gain. Looking forward for this week. Let's just stick with some Monday night action. Have some fun with it. Going Bucks in alternate spread at -2.5 with +138. That is an adjusted line after the Harden news. Wish I could have got it beforehand, but with him officially being out, still going to take Bucks with a slight win there. Going to take Suns money line over the Nuggets Monday night as well at -210, and Islanders against the spread at +1.5 -184.
So currently I sit 5-14, down 397, winning a net of 6 cents last week, as we said. I'm gonna go continue with my hockey actions. I'm gonna go Lightning -1.5, +185. See what happens. That series is tied 2-2. Carolina and Tampa. I think it's 2-2. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's 2-2 though.
The Eastern Conference of the NHL playoffs has been looking really good recently. This Bruins Islanders series has been incredible so far.
It has been, and I will always say it. NHL playoffs are the best playoffs, honestly, ever. Like compared to what other teams and leagues go through. I mean, this is probably the best because I mean you're constantly fighting, and it goes 7 games more often than not. And it's just it really is anyone's game, honestly. I just love the NHL. Tampa is up 3-1, so I lied there. It's not 2-2. It's 3-1 Tampa.
But come on, in what other playoffs can you see your player storm off the court with 5 minutes left?
Yeah, but in what other playoffs can you see a dude take a puck to the face?
That's also true.
Go get stitched up and then come back out.
And what other series or what other playoffs can you see a fight occur and then you just have to take a timeout for 5 minutes? That honestly, this is the best part about hockey.
Yeah.
Just absolutely wailing on someone. It's like, all right, keep playing.
Yeah, I love hockey. I love hockey. It's the greatest. I just wish the Flyers were better.
Hey, we almost had it last year. Who knows? Maybe next year's the year.
That hurt. All right, what's the time of the show? Max, final thoughts from you.
Kind of caught flat-footed here. I don't think I have any final thoughts.
No final thoughts? Actually, honestly, kind of same.
Yeah, I mean, not that big of a sport. I mean, big of a general sports week, but for Philly, it was there are only 2 things are happening. We got the Union on international break, some rookie camps for the Eagles, Miles Sanders looking good. Yeah, not too much happening right now. You want to just take us out?
I can. I guess the only thing that I had to say is Julio to Tennessee.
Oh, man. That was a steal of a pick, and Tennessee's going to look
also
good.
You being from that area, did you happen to see the Orioles-Indians score?
From what day?
Today.
I have not.
18-5. Orioles.
I'm assuming for the Orioles?
Orioles won 18-5.
This is the same Orioles team I saw get mollywopped by the Red Sox. I don't believe that.
18-5, a 6-run second inning, a 5-run fourth, and a 5-run seventh.
Sounds like my created player and wrote to the show left fielder for the Orioles.
I mean, it's baseball is so unpredictable sometimes. I mean, we saw it today, 12 runs.
And a net falling down in the middle.
And a net falling down in the middle of a game. Oh man, what a Sunday, man! What a Sunday for sports. Well, I think that is it for Max and myself. These were the views from Hawkeye. I'm Steve. That's Max. Again, follow us on wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, I should say, Spotify. You say we're on Amazon?
Yeah, there's Amazon Podcast.
We're on Amazon Podcasts. We're on a bunch of different places. We're on YouTube now. Max is all that works. So kudos to Max. I mean, he's working hard getting this stuff out there. I
hate my Sunday and Wednesday nights. That's all I gotta say.
I'm just the pretty face that sits here and talks to him every Sunday and Wednesday night. So he gets a little bit of eye candy for about an hour. But yeah, that's it. So really do appreciate you guys listening in. We're having fun with it. Again, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. I'm sure there's a bunch of other places I don't know about. Hit us up in the DMs at vsmalk on Twitter. Email us vsmalk@gmail.com. I think that's it for us. So once again, I'm Steve.
I'm Max.
This is the Vsmalk. Have a great week.
Keep thrusting the process.